Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome to One Hub Racing Season 27. We are at round 4 of the championship, and we go very high speed this weekend as the drivers head to the Temple of Speed at Monza, home of the Tifosi for the Italian Grand Prix. Both P3 and P2 tiers delivered. Will P1 do the same? My name is Jess Ball, and joining me once again, we got Mr. Mike Edwards. Mike, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic, Jess, and what a race, what an iconic circuit on the F1 calendar is Monza, the Temple of Speed. Honestly, it's just one of those tracks that is just a fan favourite, regardless of your allegiance in terms of what nation and you enjoy or like what drivers you enjoy. Everyone loves Monza. That is just the be-all end-all.
Yeah, it is a classic track. It is a track that's been pretty much in existence since in the 1950s when F1 first started. It used to have an oval bit of the circuit in the 1950s, which was a 4.5 kilometre loop. Then they changed it, of course, due to safety reasons. But a little bit more about the track a little bit later on. But first, last week, it was quite a close race between our top two of the championship. It was Ben Mills that took the win, his second win of the season, and Axelot 1 point behind him. But if you missed the pre-race show, I pointed out something very important. Ben Mills is not going to be here tonight. Neither is Callum Anand, which gives people like Axelot, like Marco, like the two racing balls of Casper and Kieran, and lots of other drivers in this field to really gain some crucial points in this championship, because I wouldn't have thought after 3 rounds the championship will be this close in P1.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big opportunity for a lot of drivers out there. Obviously, as you mentioned, Axelot, Marco, Kieran. Obviously, a big opportunity as well for Nick, Colin, Casper, as well as Chris as well. Like there's so many drivers that can take full advantage of the fact that Ben Mills and Callum Anand aren't here tonight, and it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, it is, and I'm very excited to see this. And of course, you can see your top 5 on your screen right now. Of course, your driver of the day was Axelot last week, and he says he felt pretty confident around this circuit in the pre-race interview. So without further ado, we are going to get started with the race. Now, apologies, my stream deck is not working, so I'm not able to, I have to be able to see the pause menu from time to time, so we do apologise. Only 14 drivers today. We got quite a few drivers missing in the P1 tier, but that's absolutely fine, as everyone is already out on stock compound tyres. We saw in the P2 tier there was so much traffic, because there were lots of people that were wanting to get their laps in quite early, because it is possible to do 4 laps around here, but only if you go out straight away, and only if you're the first lot of drivers. And the first lot of drivers to go out on the circuit is the drivers that the folks you want to support. It is the Ferrari cars of Colin and Nick.
Yeah, it looks like Colin is the first of the Ferraris who's going to be setting a lap. So, I mean, I think we go on board with Colin for this full lap. Jess, what do you reckon?
Yeah, we might as well go on board with Colin to start this lap then around this beautiful circuit. Of course, the fastest lap record set by Max Verstappen this year. So you'll be heading towards turn number 1. You'll be aiming for the first curb. Clip it, but don't clip the second curb too much, because it can send you into a spin. Not the best turn 1 that he approached, but still quite decent for him. In towards Curb Conde now. Keep as tight to the right as you can throughout most of it to gain a better exit in towards turn number 3 and 4 coming up. The first of the Variante di Roggio. So you go through the first one and then the second one. A little bit unsettled, almost hitting the gravel a little bit there, but now in towards the second Lesmos. Aiming to the right, stay in sit for 5th gear. Aim brake for the 50-metre board, and then 5th gear. Also, he does go through there. And now DRS wide open. Overtake on. You're going to be burning that battery until you get to around about 30% as you make your way through Ascari. Now, we've seen quite a few invalidations for Ascari in all tiers tonight, so hopefully we won't see that in P1. He now makes his way past the straight into towards the Parabolica, which is absolutely beautiful. Brake just after the AstroTurf, aim for the right once more. Don't forget, this is a banker lap, so he may be running in lower gears than expected. Colin goes up to the line to set his first lap of the day. It's an 18.3 for Colin, Mike. That's a very good lap.
It's a very good lap to get things underway, as it looks like Nick might have invalidated his
Yes,
lap.
he did.
He's straight back into the pits. So one up for Colin in the Scuderia, and we're seeing more times coming in now. And Colin 2 times clear at the moment.
Yeah, no one seems to be beating them at the moment, but you never know. Marco almost beating him, and so did Casper as well. And Casper only a 10th slower than Colin, and we weren't expecting Colin to set a banker like this early on. He said that he does like this circuit, but the tyres could wear quite quickly, as quite a lot of drivers thought that. Colin was actually the one who was called to the drivers' press conference earlier on this week, and he was asked after his short break, he's finding his feet a little bit, and he was asked, can you see yourself going from straight to straight as the season progresses? We've got more people on laps, actually. He was said, great to be back on F1. This game is a massive improvement compared to last game. Had a very poor start to the season, but pleased to get some points on the board at Zandvoort. I think he finished 6th in Zandvoort. He's getting better and more comfortable on this game. Top six will be his target. That will be his championship result in top tier. As your newest driver to One Hub Racing, welcome to the league, my friend Alex, who's replacing Catherine in the Haas. He just said a statement right there. Who cares if Ben or Callum aren't here? I want to make a statement and go P1. Wow.
Yeah, marginally ahead of Cooley in second place as well, also on an 18-1. So very close between the Haas and the Red Bull. Will it be a Red Bull on the top step of the podium, Jess?
Like we saw in the real life race, spoiler alert, I was hoping that you wouldn't, you probably would have seen the results right by now. Come on, if you haven't, then you're weird. So most people have done their lap so far. 3 people have been validated. That is Kieran, Nick and Lukey. So Alex on top. We've got Coley in second. Coley has flown a little bit under the radar this season. Hasn't scored the way he would have liked. So I was expecting him to be near the front after what we saw in pre-season. But maybe this is the track where he could challenge the likes of the top guy. This could be the tracks where the old guard can change and maybe we could see a winner that you won't expect. Of course, the only one out of this grid to have won a race this season is Marco. He's only down in P5, so there could be someone like Collie that could upset it a little bit. Meanwhile, Lukey and Nick on laps at the moment. Lukey admitted to us that he was struggling around this track, so he's got a lot of work to do, of course, but we'll see if he's nailed his strategy. We don't know, but you never know what could happen around here. But Lukey makes his way through sector 1, and I think as long as they nail Ascari, this could be a good lap for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Ascari is going to be the key corner. Vettel actually, as Lukey clips the inside curb into the second chicane, and he's gone off into the gravel, so that's going to be his lap over and done with. Nick is right behind him coming through, so will Nick snag a little bit of slipstream off of Lukey here?
Yeah, potentially. Maybe Lukey could help them up. Slipstreaming is not banned in this league compared to other leagues that you're used to, like PSG and WOR, so maybe the slipstream could help. It helps quite a lot of other people in the other tiers tonight, so we'll see how Nick could gain the time. It looked a lot better. He didn't invalidate for Ascari this time, so he's probably going to be, I think, a lot relieved after that. Exits Parabolica now. One Ferrari has done well. Is the other Ferrari going to follow suit and join him on the second row? The answer to that is nope. He only sits in P8 for now. Colin starts his lap now as he enters T1. I wonder if they're going to help each other with the toe a little bit. No, they're not, because Nick is just behind Colin.
Yeah, maybe at the end of these second laps now, maybe they'll assess and see what they can do in terms of the toe, as Colin validates coming from the second chicane. Just a big lockup on the entry, and he's just had to clip over the curb there, and that's an invalidation for him.
Yep, invalidation for Colin, which is not ideal as well. Casper has just started, and I think turn 4 is another place where you can run really wide. Is it honestly, we were both racing in the tier just gone. You could probably agree that turn 4 is an absolute nightmare, because if you get one bit wrong, if you get one braking zone bit wrong, braking point wrong, then that can mess your entire lap up, which is what we saw Colin do. But one driver that seems to me quite confident around this lap is Casper. Of course, finished really well, finished on the podium last week in Zandvoort, and is looking like he could be one of the favourites to get the race victory tonight. Of course, he's one of the drivers that has taken a gearbox penalty, so he'll be starting way further in the grid than he would have liked. Nick also taking a gearbox penalty. Furious taking an engine penalty, as is few other drivers such as Chris and Kieran. So those are the drivers to keep an eye on near the background. But Casper, he wants to climb up as high as he can, so he starts high as he can. Up to the line, Casper goes, and he goes P3. We got more drivers going up to the line. J-Car is next. He only goes 5th. We got one of the Alpines. He's starting his lap. And we've got a yellow flag. Someone is just moving out the way, it looks like. Chris then is in at 12th, and it's just Atslot crossing the line.
Marco.
And Marco, 118.1, Mike.
Yeah, I just jumped on board with Marco as he was entering Parabolica, and he was 2 temps up in the middle sector, so it was going to be close with Alex. But yeah, Marco, fantastic run on the exit of Parabolica, able to snag provisional pole for the time being.
Provisional pole for Marco, the only driver out of this grid who has won a race this season, and it's only by a few 100ths of a second. We'll see what a new guy can do. Of course, brand new to One Hub Racing, was on the waiting list for quite a bit, and since we moved quite a few people down, like Catherine, and also a few people from P2 down to P3, this allowed Alex to go into the P1 tier. This is going to be a nightmare to commentate, Cole. Luckily, Alex is not here tonight. Oh, as he hits the grabble. Never mind. Commentator's curse number 1 for Jessica Ball. But it's going to be a nightmare to commentate in the commentary box with an Alex and an Alexa. But luckily we just got Alex tonight, but he has it invalidated, so that's his lap done.
Yeah, it's gonna be tricky as we go through the season with Alex and Alexa, but yeah, we should be okay. We should be. I think we'll be okay. But Luke on his lap right now, coming to the middle sector split, yet to get a lap time on the board, under pressure now. 52.2 middle sectors. We come through Ascari, and importantly for Lukey, it is valid.
It is valid this time, which is much better than his previous run. So what could he do now through the Parabolica? It may not be the fast lap, but at least a lap on the board. Kieran's the only other driver to not set a lap time. So Lukey taking the shortest one to the line. What's it going to be? It's going to be a 118.7, which puts him in the top 10.
Yeah, fantastic there from Lukey. Under pressure, had to get a lap on the board. He has done so. He's just inside the top 10. And do you know what, Jess? One thing obviously that we got to highlight now for what would be the start of the race. Your positioning in qualifying really does matter around here, because that midfield, as soon as you go through the first chicane, it can get so packed in that first chicane that you can easily pick up a little bit of wing damage, and that's your first stint completely over and done with immediately. So I think, like, for a lot of the drivers, if they find themselves in the midfield, they're going to be a little bit disappointed with that, I think.
Yeah, I think so. We both experienced that in P2, being in the midfield, getting caught up in quite a few instances there. But if you're near the front, you're just going to avoid that altogether. So yeah, I agree. Qualifying is just going to be just as important, as we do have a few yellow flags, but just people moving out the way. Nick is on a run at the moment as he makes his way through into the Lesmos. Colin, I believe, is on a run too, as I think... Yeah, Alex to the line. What's it going to be? A 118.196, a few 100 slower for Alex, but he was able to go again quite quickly. Colin had to abort his run because he was not happy with that whatsoever. Palsy going through the middle sector, so it is Nick that's going to be the next driver to set a lap time. The birthday boy this weekend, of course, hasn't been feeling very well, so of course that's why he is taking his engine penalty, well, gearbox penalty this week, because he doesn't know what to expect. Nick also feels like his lap could have been better, so he dives it in to the pit lane. So most people have done 2 laps. We may see people do another lap if we have time, but I doubt it. For some people, they won't have time. Quite a few drivers, when they were asked what the weather was going to be, they wanted rain. Well, unfortunately, it's not going to be like that. In qualifying with the adaptive weather system that we got at One Hub Racing, it's light cloud to clear. In the race, it's light cloud to clear to light cloud. Personally, I don't think it makes a difference in terms of the tyre temps. So I think these drivers have got to treat it as if it's going to be a normal race. Casper, I thought that he was going to pray for rain like he usually does, but he's also praying for a dry race. So yeah, there was quite a mixed bag, but there was quite a lot of people that preferred a wet race, which was quite surprising because it's a lot hard to race around Monza, but it could have spiced things up a little bit.
Yeah, it absolutely could have. Obviously, last week at Zandvoort, and I was praying for rain just to get it off the board because I wasn't racing. But
Collie!
yeah, I think Collie with an improvement there as Marco invalidates on the second Lesmo, so he's not going to see any improvement. And this could put Marco under pressure because he's got what? He's got about what? Like
he's got
a minute
time.
or so in the change. Yeah, a minute or so change at the moment.
Yeah, he's got time. As long as you're out of the pits within like 2 minutes, then you should be able to get a lap in for your final run. And if you're one of the last people out, then the track evolution is going to be huge for him. So I think he should be fine as long as he comes into the pits. Now, we got multiple people still out on a run, and they wanted to get the clear air in. So one of those is Colin. And one of which is Collie, but he's going to go into the pits. He's going to call it fine to do another run. We could see multiple people try and come in. Just look at how close this grid is. Furious, you're not meant to do that according to the regulations. I've been told by Colin earlier on today, you're not allowed to cut any part of your lap to get into the pits quick enough. If you do, oh, he's doing it again. Right, I'm going to let the stewards know on that one because you're not meant to do that.
Yeah, Furious obviously did not get the memo from the stewards, and yeah, that'll definitely probably be taking a look at there for Furious. But Colin on his lap now, coming through Curva Grande to the first sector split, and he's marginally up in the first sector, Jess.
Yep, he is. He's improving quite. Oh no, he's invalidated turn 4. He was purple sector 1 as well, Mike.
Yeah, I think the good thing for Colin is that he done that at the start of the lap, so he can maybe save up a bit of battery and try to go again, but he's using his ears.
I think he just wants to see what he could have done as well, but if I was him, save a bit of hers, Cole, to do another lap, unless he lost a bit of grip on his tyres, potentially. I don't know. I don't get what he's doing, to be honest, but anyway, we are about to start the final runs in qualifying. I did let the stewards know about Furious's antics, so don't worry, it has been logged. But let us know your predictions in the chat. Who do you think is going to get pole position? I know Lethal Forceman's in the chat. Hello, we miss you out there on chat. Wanting for Chris to do well. He's down in 13th at the moment, but we know the qualifying is not so crucial for him because he's got a penalty. Curry's at the moment.
No, I've just seen him do what Furious done through turn 1.
Yep, so I think he's going to try and do the same here, isn't he? Nope, he's not. He's fine. So yeah, that's another one to add. I'll let you carry on whilst I log that.
Well, I mean, Colin, by using all of his ERS, he's definitely put himself on the back foot. We got Casper on his flying lap. Looks like he's got a little bit of a toe up ahead from his teammate, which is going to be interesting. In fact, Kieran also on a lap as well. So both of the RBs line astern on track, and this could be a little bit annoying for Casper, just having a little bit of understeer from the dirty air in front. So we'll see how that unfolds as we got 30 seconds remaining in the session.
Oh, Casper! He went too much on the left-hand side in towards this straight, and that cost him so much time. That was a lap that was good enough for pole. So that he's going to be kicking himself, especially with that 5-place gearbox penalty. And for Kieran, of course, he was going to help his teammate, but he just going to have to fend for himself. We told Kieran that even though you got a penalty, that he's still got to set a very competitive lap in order to climb as high as you can. Kieran up to the line, and 18-2, that's pretty decent for Kieran. Obviously, Casper, unfortunately, has invalidated. What could Pelzy do?
Wow.
Of course, his teammate. What happened?
I've just jumped on board with Marco, and he's a 10th up in Sector 1. Remember, Cooley has improved on his lap time. So it's an 18 flat. This could be a potential pole lap here from Marco if he can carry it on through the middle sector.
This is very good for Marco coming up as well. We got two of the Ferraris that just finished on their laps. They're not going to be able to improve. And look at that. The first drive into the 117.9s for Alex. But can Marco... Oh, no, he can't. Marco's invalidated. Marco's invalidated his run. The only driver that can beat him is Axelot. But can he do it? No. Only 4 fastest. What about his teammate? He's invalidated as well. Lukey goes up to the line. He can't improve. He stays 13th. Curry is also invalidated, so that is it then for qualifying. Your newest driver to One Hub Racing has gone on debut, got the best of starts, pole position in the Haas by 1/10 of a second. Wow.
And you know what? I was on board with Marco when he invalidated. It was as soon as that lap popped up from Alex. So I think Marco may have had a little bit of glancing at the time that was set, and that's just slightly put him off through Ascari, because really you got to be fully concentrated going through Ascari. I think that lap might have just taken his eyes off the corner slightly, and then he picked up the invalidation.
Yep, I think it must be heartbreaking, because of course Marco, one of the drivers, has won a race, wanted to climb as many places as he can, but to be fair, the ones that have got engine penalties and gearbox penalties, they're behind him. So it's not like the ones that got engine and grid penalties are in front of him. So this could cost him a little bit, but at least he's not in the midfield. That's the most important thing. So let's go through your qualifying results then. We got Alex by 1/10 on pole. Then we got Coley in second, Marco third, Axelot fourth. Then we got Casper and Kieran fifth and sixth. Colin in seventh. Then we got Curry, J. Cole, Pelzy, Nick, Furious, Lukey, and Chris. And the whole grid separated by just over a second. This is the pinnacle of One Hub Racing here, folks, for the P1 tier, and they definitely delivered tonight here at Monza. Of course, they'll be doing a dummy race, and so we could set the grid and to get those engine and gearbox penalties out the way. Of course, we did have some stewards inquiries from this tier, from last week from Zanvil. A lot of those penalties resulted in no further action. The Nick and J. Cole incident, of course. Ricardo, though, got a 3-place grid penalty to serve in this race because he retired on track. And, of course, like we mentioned in the stewards room stream and in the talk show, it is not allowed. So I don't think he's here tonight, but the next race he attends, he will get a 3-place grid penalty. Of course, we've got Kieran, Furious, and Chris getting engine penalties, and Nick and Casper getting gearbox penalties. So those are your grid penalties for this evening. Of course, the big players are Kieran and Casper taking those penalties.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to be interesting to see how they do in the race and try to climb their way up the order. But in terms of the 3-place grid penalty that Ricardo is going to be serving
next week,
I wonder right, when he's back, does he take an engine or a gearbox penalty along with it? Because he's getting a penalty regardless.
That's what Catherine did when she was in P1. She did exactly the same.
So it could be a bit of strategy there for Ricardo to work with. Even though he's serving a 3-place grid penalty, he could take a gearbox or an engine along with it.
Yeah, I think that could be a smart move for Ricardo. Hopefully, just remember that I'm just laughing at this race. You can't see it at the moment, but we just got a red flag in the dummy race. But luckily, everyone retired just in time. But we had a red flag for a moment, okay? So our first red flag of the season. Joking, it's not a real race, so of course we've had no red flags. So there we go. But yeah, I mean, you do not want to get a grid penalty due to like retiring on track this early on into the season. So hopefully for these drivers, they will keep it clean. P2 tier was relatively clean as well, so we hope the same for P1. The rivalry I want to talk about is the likes of Casper and Kieran, because they've been so close all season, and they were asked about whether they were going to be working together on particular strategies as teammates, or is it open to race and we be able to keep it clean. And their styles of driving, it has a certain robustness to them. So what Casper said, they felt like they should have performed better. Both drivers having bad luck. Obviously, Kieran had bad luck in Britain, Casper in Canada. But their rivals have struggled too. They had a decent race in Zandvoort, but they haven't pre-planned anything. They could have won the race if we let Kieran out on scrub-tail tyres. Oh, that was quite funny. I love that. But they were asked, we're free to race each other and we're always keeping it clean, no silly businesses. And Kieran saying that they felt that they got good chemistry between each other because they race each other for years. They always keep it clean and respectful. There's some things they might do which the other disagrees, but that's just how things are. He's very happy with Casper being his teammate, and he honestly thought with how the season has started out, they could win the Constructors. So I think it does help, like with Axel and Chris in the Aston Martin garage, Mike, that you have that relationship that you raced with each other before, because you know what your strengths and weaknesses are as a team.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, they've raced with each other for a long time, Casper and Kieran, so they're fully aware of what each other are capable of, and they're aware of any particular weaknesses that they can help their teammate out in. So it's going to be interesting seeing how that team work will develop over the course of the season. I mean, as you said, it's very close between them right now. It's only, 3 points between them in the championship?
Yeah, which is not a lot at all between these two, and they're doing quite well in the Constructors too. So bring it on, I would have to say, with these two. I will try and get the Constructors up on my screen so we can see what happens, but I'm excited to see how they do. Of course, both of these drivers are taking engine or gearbox penalties, so they'll probably be near each other on track anyway. Probably not the best of tracks to take an engine penalty, because like we saw in real life, it's just so hard to overtake. And like you were saying earlier, it's very imperative that you have a good qualifying session around here, because otherwise the dirty air is just going to cost you quite a bit. So the Constructors standings is Williams leading by 1 point over Racing Bulls, and of course with Ben Mills not hitting this evening, I think Racing Bulls could clinch the Constructors lead tonight if both drivers get on their A game here this evening, which could be absolutely amazing. So of course with Ben Mills being the big point scorer, Lukey needs a good result tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Lukey saying that he is struggling around here as well. But the thing is, Jess, as we know, as long as you keep it clean, keep it penalty free, you always have a chance, because you never know what can happen. A late safety car could really propel you up the order. Or just keeping it clean and keeping your nose out of trouble will also help. And of course, that pit lane entry, so easy to pick up a 10-second time penalty for speeding in that pit lane. So
You've done it.
I did do it by 1 mile an hour. That was furious. But it happens. Like, it's so tricky to get that pit lane entry right.
And we could see safety cars as well that could affect the strategies too. Like, people may hope for safety cars penalties could come into play. Of course, in our tier, we only had, I think it was about 2 or 3 virtual safety cars. We had no safety cars. But in P3, we had 2 or 3 safety cars. So, I know with P1, they like to keep it clean in general. They were the only tier last week to have one safety car, but for the majority of the race, they kept it clean anyway. So, anything can happen. We could see people putting in less fuel for all we know, because they think it's going to be relatively chaos-free. And it's about playing that gut feeling, really. And they were asked about if they were putting in plenty of practice for this race. And Axlock said he's been putting in the practice. J. Cole, interestingly enough, he was asked about this track. he said it's one of his favourite tracks, so hopefully he can perform around here. So J. Cole, someone to keep an eye on here for today's race. And of course, Casper, funny answer, which wasn't picked in the standout statement, which I was very frustrated by. He was like, disable safety car before we can make any set strategies. There you go. So, but if it was like what we saw in P2, he'll be okay.
Yeah, of course, there was just the 2 virtual safety cars in P2, which I don't think it helped anyone strategy-wise because of where everyone was on the track when they were deployed. But, I mean, a virtual safety car at the right time can really propel you up the order as well. So, taking advantage of those situations is really going to come into clutch for some of these drivers.
Yeah, so I think for Casper, he's going to hope that there's no VSCs or no safety cars to ruin his strategy. And Kieran was saying that he was quite confident around here because he's done a race around here on Wednesday. He said qualifying wasn't good, but his race pace was great. We see many drivers that feel more comfortable in race pace. We've seen Kieran in the last few races climb his way up through the order. Maybe that's why, Mike, he managed to decide to get his one of his penalties out of the way because he knows that his race pace is good.
Yeah, and obviously the race pace now, obviously, as long as you got a nice low downforce setup, you are going to be able to make a couple of overtakes. Obviously, everyone's going to be running lower wings here anyway in the dry conditions, but you can make overtakes. You just need the right runs out of certain corners to get those overtakes done. But getting those runs is easier said than done in this tier.
Yeah, I mean, getting the runs that you need, I think it's going to take, a tall order for some of these guys as well. But you never know. The call has been given by the tier coordinator to ready up. The grid has been set, so we are about to get ready for 27 laps of racing around the Temple of Speed. Of course, we have 4 or 5 drivers taking their gearbox or engine penalty. Of course, each driver has to do 1 engine and 1 gearbox penalty per season, so that is 2 altogether. Otherwise, you will get a really hefty penalty at the end of the season. Let's go through our sponsors then before we go through to the main action. We got Next Level Racing, of course. These are the prizes that the drivers could win for this season. So a massive shout out to Next Level Racing. Of course, we've got our newest sponsor, Sim Racing Setup. The winner of the Sim Racing Setups Driver of the Day each week gets a £10 voucher. And the driver of the season wins a £100 voucher. And of course, if you want to pick up some Sim Racing setups, or you want their setup tonight and it was brilliant, you could use the code 1HubRacing for 5% off at checkout. Of course, we have Pure Sim Gear. You could use the code OHR10P at checkout to get 10% off any Pure Sim Gear products. And the winner of the most combined poles and fastest laps, also the more known as the Speedster Award, will win a pair of Sim Racing gloves or socks. We got our partners Vespertina support our championship apparel. They provide prizes such as the Race to Dream t-shirt, which I've got on at the moment for the Going Against Tough award, and also a purple sector t-shirt for the winner of the 100 Racing Driver Rankings. And then finally, our partners at SimGrid. Without SimGrid, we will be filling out forms and spreadsheets and that'll be an absolute nightmare. So thank you to all our sponsors and partners. Without you, this league could not happen. We're about to get going for some racing. Mike, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Who's your pick for the win this evening?
Now you've gone and done it. Now you've gone and done it. It's hard to not go with. It's hard to not go with Marco because he's been here, he's done it before, and we know his race pace is usually up there anyway. So it's hard to not back Marco in this. And honestly, I think I'm gonna have to go with Marco for the race win.
You're gonna go with Marco for the race win. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been tossing and turning in terms of who my pick is, but of course, starting on pole necessarily is not good unless you're Max Verstappen, who started on pole and got the victory today. I am gonna go with. I'm tempted to go with Axelot, because he's been looking so good during practice. His setup, he's kind of nailed. He can manage the tyres effectively as well. So my pick goes to him. I think that's who I predicted in the pre-race talk show earlier on. So I kind of have to stick to that. And if he doesn't win, then he's probably going to blame me for that because of the typical commentator's curses. So there we go. That's my pick for the race victory. Let us know your pick for the race victory in the chat. And it is going to be a light cloud to clear to light cloud race for all of our drivers this evening. And don't forget, you can get involved by joining our Discord and join our waiting list if you want to sign up to One Hub Racing. I could see a little bit of a glimpse of the tyres of one of the McLarens, Mike.
I was not able to see it, but we're going to the 5 red lights anyway, Jess. Lights out and we are underway.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were meant to do the start there. We got a bit confused there. But anyway, Collie gets a very good start, making his way into T1. Is there going to be a lot of contact towards anyone? No, looks like they're all A-OK so far. There's a little bit of free wide action heading towards turn 2, guys. Hopefully they could keep it clean, otherwise it could be quite a bit of chaos going on through into Kerber now. Collie keeps T1. There's going to be a T2 with a contact for the first throw enter to Roger, which could allow Axelot to gain a few places. This could be a very great moment for him, but he doesn't. Collie takes the lead, but he's got a bit of oversteer as they enter the Lesmos.
Yeah, I was on board with the battles towards the back of the field. It was 2x2 like Noah's Ark coming through the chicane, and Casper in a bit of the grass doing some lawn mowing, down in 13th place now. As we're starting to see some of the guys for taking their penalties trying to make their way up the order, as we got Pelzi now trying to make a move on Lukey, who's already picked up a 3-second time penalty, Jess.
That's not a good start to his race at all for Lukey, and the ones who got their penalties, they're probably finding it a bit harder to try and overtake, so they got a lot of work to do at this stage, but DRS activated for all our drivers. You can see Alex trying to make the first move and Axelot making the second move. Surely he's going to help Collie here if those two fight a little bit, but Axelot goes around the outside, almost hits a sausage curb there, but he gets P2 away from Alex. So Aston Martin doing very well to hold on to second place, but look at Marco on the gearbox of Alex then. The dirty air is an absolute nightmare around there. You got to brake super early, which luckily he does. Again, sausage curb should be banned from Formula 1, and they should never come back because it does cost quite a few people's races. Now into Lesmos once more. You can see the DRS going to come into full effect here. Will Axelot try and go for the overtake here, or is he going to save a bit of his ERS? I think he's going to try and save a bit of his ERS as he makes his way through into Ascari, which I think is a very smart move for him.
Yeah, absolutely. ERS management is going to be so crucial for all the drivers out there, because it's so easy to just find yourself on little to no ERS just naturally around this circuit, with how often you are on full throttle. So making sure that you keep your ERS in check is going to be crucial. It's an interesting in terms of the tyre strategies, Jess. Obviously, Alex and J. Cole and Furious opting for the set the hards. Now, as Axelot has taken the race lead, J. Cole setting the fastest lap. But what I was going to say is the hards, in my opinion, were a very good race tyre to be on.
I agree, and of course, my tyres after 2-3 laps got to about 20-25%. So there's some tracks where you're like, nah, the hards are not a good race tyre to start on. Around this track, it definitely is, because you could gain so much. And don't forget, around the track like Monza, even though it's low deg in real life, on the game, the mediums wear exactly the same weight as the softs around Zandvoort. So these drives have got to be so smooth in terms of the driving style. They can't afford to be too aggressive. So the ones that are smoother in the steering application, they're going to do a lot better in this race, as Alex almost got past Collie there in towards Ascari, couldn't quite do it. I have to say, J. Cole is looking very close right on the gearbox of Pelzi, and I have to say, when I was having a race earlier on, the ones on the hards were able to get past me straight away early on into this race. And maybe J. Cole is eating up that advantage as he makes his way through into the last corner. So he's got a bit of battery to use up, but he's hardly got any left, so he's got a lot of work to do. We'll see at the front to see if it could be free wide towards turn number 1. It's going to be free wide towards turn number 1. Who's going to go up the inside? It is Collie that takes the lead, but Alex understandably backs out. But you can see Alex trying to get the upper hand on Axelot in towards turn 2, and Marco is going to give them a run for their money. Marco's going to love this because these guys keep squabbling. Axelot just about holds on into P2 potentially. Yes, he does.
Yeah, that was fantastic from all three of them going through the first chicane. It's very rare that you see three wide and everyone comes out unscathed. Marco, of course, having to sit back and watch these guys battle up ahead. As much as I think he'd be enjoying it, I think he also realizes the threat in behind him of Colin. So it's not a case where he's comfortably watching this. He's also got to keep his eyes in the mirror as well.
This is a very long DRS train. Pretty much everyone, unless you're Chris, is in a DRS train. So one small move and one small error could cost you for the rest of this race. All these drivers are keeping it relatively clean, as we almost saw a move on the exit of the Parabolica, but they're deciding to be brave. But look at the gap that Collie is pulling at the moment. I don't think Axelot is going to have an answer. The one who is going to have an answer maybe on Axelot is Alex. Oh my god, that's going to be weird to call throughout this race. Axelot and Alex, that's going to be a tongue twister and a half. But Collie defends and closes the door on Axelot and slots himself into P1 once again. And we'll see, Kieran's looking quite close on the back of Chris. Chris is struggling on board the Chris and Casper train as we make our way towards turn 2.
Yeah, and Casper will be thankful now that he's ahead of Chris, and maybe he can start eating into that gap of Lukey up ahead.
Time penalty for our race leader.
Ooh, that is not good for Cooley. Lap 5 and picking up a 3-second time penalty is really going to put him under pressure later on in this race, Jess.
Yeah, that is absolutely frustrating, and that's what costed pretty much 2 or 3 drivers shot for the win of this race. I think 2 or 3 drivers were on course for the victory, got the penalty, and the one who won the race picked up no penalties. So if you have good race pace and you can fight for the win, picking no penalties is essential to getting a good race result. So they can't afford losing out by just cutting a sky, because if you cut a sky 3 times, for example, that's it, you get a time penalty. So for some drivers, they got to think about their time management and think about, right, I can't cut too much here, but you may cut towards the end of the race, for example. So Axelot's going to try and get the lead in towards T1. You can see Alex is following Axelot around, which almost helped him, but didn't, as Collie shut the door very, very well indeed.
Yeah, and momentarily going to start finish straight, and Colin was outside that 1 second window, so, and he's back with outside it again, so we might see a split now with the top 4 getting away from the rest of the field.
I think we got 2 or 3 DRS trains now, Mikes, as we make our way through. And yes, he's lost a bit of time, so he's got to gain within that DRS range, because otherwise he's gonna it's gonna affect the drivers behind him as well. So let's just see how much battery he's got. He hasn't got that much left, and luckily he's got DRS here, so that's hopefully gonna gain this much back. But maybe he's struggling a little bit on those medium tires. You can see Axelot at the front was trying to make sure that he cools down his tires a little bit, because you can see that there's a lot of the drivers on those mediums really struggling. I'm going to keep my close eye on Alex this lap. He's on the hards. J. Cole as well. Those 2 drivers, watch them climb their way through the field. Furious as well. And we could see how they could do throughout the rest of this one. So let's watch Alex now as he makes through the start-finish straight. He's going to, the DRS open, burns the battery. Sure is going to be the move he's looking for. Casper gets a 10-second penalty for speeding the pit lane, but enough about Casper at the moment. Alex takes one move round the outside. Coley covers him off in towards the next turn, and Coley defends and keeps P2. But fair play to Alex. Alex has got to get a move on. He knows that those mediums are dying, and he just can't get past, which is costing him a lot of time, and that's allowing Marco to close in. Alex is going to take another opportunity, but doesn't do it.
Yeah, I think what Alex is trying to do there is pace his car, make Coley think, and compromise his line a little bit. Try to open up an opportunity for himself. Marco is just sitting in behind waiting for an opportunity also. They've managed to get away from Colin now, who's going to be under pressure from Kerry, Pelzy and J. Cole, who's just picked up a 3-second time penalty. And there's an eye for Bryn. My commentator curse right there.
Yeah, I think we had two commentators' curses there, I think. I think be careful that we don't make it an unlucky 3 and make it a 3rd, but you never know. I like jinxing too much. Let's hope it's not the case for quite a lot of our drivers. Expect to see the first lot of mediums come into the pit around about now. So I think a few of them are going to come in. Yep, I was right. Thank you very much. Oh, commentator's curse number 3.
I mean, this is what I was talking about earlier, Jess, with the pit lane entry. Is so easy to do. And we're just seeing it right now. 10 seconds being picked up. Just, it's such a tricky pit lane entry to get right. And you really want to brake early because you lose so much on pit entry. But when you push it just a little bit too much, that 10 second can completely destroy your race.
Yeah, it is better sometimes just slowing down just a little bit to avoid that penalty. You may lose time later on, but it's better than losing 10 seconds when you have to serve it in the pit lane. That's what I would do. It is one of the hardest pit lane entries to get right, because some people think, yeah, I would practice in qualifying. Do not practice in qualifying. Your mediums at this point are shot. So you've got to be practicing your braking points during your practice sessions. Do a few practice races. Once you get almost like 60% tire wear, which is probably what most people are going to experience, that's when you're going to brake and go on to the and get those pit entries right, because otherwise it could cost you like Axlock. So for Axlock, he's going to hope that he gets a safety car to bring him back into this one, which means I think the winners of this race could be either with the likes of Alex or Marco. Alex stayed out. Collie and Marco both go into the pit lane from their mediums. Pretty much everyone that was on the mediums is going on to a set of the hard compounded tyres right now, or maybe they could go on to mediums, maybe do 2 sets of mediums. Well, it's going to be a mixed strategy as they come into the pit lane. A double stat for the well, it looked like a double stat for one of the teams, at least it's Mercedes. So obviously they must have not been in the party, because surely they must have known that one person would have pitted, and they should have waited to the next lap. Or maybe Curry struggled on those mediums a little bit too much, but Axelot is ahead. Look at that undercut. It is powerful, but it's going to mean nothing because he's got that 10 second.
Yeah, the undercut, while it is worked to perfection for Axlock, he can try his best to build out that gap, but that 10 second is really going to come back to hurt him towards the end of the race. I think the undercut that Colin has managed to do has put himself in a very good position, because he's now on the net lead train.
And Casper.
And he has no penalty. Yeah, Casper with a penalty to his name as well, though. Even though it's a 3 second, Colin right now, all he's got to do is sit on the back of these two in front, and he could be jumping up the order, but he's already lost out DRS to Casper, and that's going to put him under pressure now from Marco.
Yeah, we know how quick Marco is around this circuit, and we know that Marco's definitely going to give a lunge. I was speaking to quite a lot of the P1 drivers today, and a lot of people were saying Marco's going to get the victory. Marco's going to get the victory. So he is a favourite going into today. Kieran comes in. Luckily, he doesn't get that penalty. Jacob comes in as well. I'm a bit shocked about this. I thought they would have come in just a little bit later, but I saw Jaco and Kit. Well, Jaco has gone for a double hard, which I thought he would have gone on to mediums and then hards, but no, he wants to get his hards out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's definitely seen the other races, and I obviously was commentating on the P2 race, saw how good the hards are in terms of the race pace they have. So he's opted for the 2 sets of hards. I'm guessing he wants to keep the fastest tyres for the final stint where he can really push and climb up the order. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think so as well, potentially. It's maybe a smart move for Jaco, knowing how good it is as well. I think quite a few drivers have opted to do the same thing as Lukey picks himself another time penalty. Collie does get past Casper in towards just before Scary. Nicely done from him, and Casper felt like there was no contest there. And especially with Casper getting those penalties, it was just a no-brainer for Collie to be ahead at this moment in time. So we've got more pitters, Furious being one of them. Of course, Furious will be investigated by the stewards for cutting turn 1 and turn 4 earlier, as does a few other drivers. So penalties may get added to their race time if they're not careful. As we've got the medium compound tyres for Furious. So Furious is on mediums now, and he's going to be on a different strategy compared to everybody else. I want to see how that affects the rest of the field, and I like that people are on varying strategies. It just makes the race even more interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of the mediums in the middle of the stint, it's fantastic to get those tyres out the way, because they do degrade quite quickly, as we've already mentioned earlier on in the stream. It's a catch-22 in it, Jess, of do you want to be on the faster tyres with the minimum amount of fuel towards the end, or do you want to be comfortable in terms of tyre wear, as Casper picks up a 3-second time penalty again. So heartbreak there for him. But Marco, he just got within the 1 second. He's burned all of his battery though, Jess. Marco's burned absolutely everything to get back within 1 second. He's not great because he hasn't got DRS.
And that's going to allow Colin to close up as well. Those are your penalties on your screen, just in case for those of you that are Jeff. And we got a yellow flag. I wonder what that's for. I think Nick might have had an off there. He's struggling a little bit tonight, but bearing in mind he's not been very well tonight. So get well soon, Nick. It is a shame he's not doing very well, but fair play for him still racing, even when you're not feeling very well, as Kieran makes his way past Lukey up into P8. So your order at the moment is Alex in P1, but he hasn't pitted yet. Axel in second, but he's got that 10-second time penalty to his name. Collie in third, he's got that 3 seconds. Casper in fourth. So your net race leader at the moment is Marco in fifth position. He's in a great spot, but he knows he's got no DRS. He's got to save enough ERS to try and close in, but he's got Colin chasing him down in sixth. Pelzy in seventh. Then we've got Kieran, Lukey and Jacob rounding up your top 10. And those are your tyres. Pretty much everyone except Furious and Chris are on the hard compounded tyres. Furious and Chris are on the mediums. Hopefully Alex remembers that it is a 2-stop race, because don't forget, in 100 racing, it is mandatory 2-stop. Regardless of condition, you will have to stop twice. And even though you're new drivers, it's no excuses. Every driver was told to read the SimGrid rules. So if anyone's jeffing this driver, make sure you tell him to do the 2-stop, because I'm a bit worried that he might have forgotten.
Yeah, if he comes into the pits at the end of this lap, that is not massively hindered him. He's holding that gap to Axel very well at around 20 seconds. So he's doing a great job on these hard tyres, but yeah, he has to make sure that he does do that first and second pit stop if he wants to make sure that he's not disqualified from the race results.
Yeah, we've seen that quite a few times in 100 racing history, and for some parts of that, it costed people's championships, and you don't want that. And we've seen people that have been in 100 racing for years and forgotten. But that's mainly because they're used to other leagues that do 1 stop, and 100 might be the only league they race in that does 2 stops. It happens. We're human. Everybody makes mistakes. So they just got to be wary that 2 stops is the norm in this league, and they must do it to avoid getting a disqualification. Colin is now out of DRS to Marco, which will allow Pelzy and Kieran to catch up. There's a lot of people that could be struggling on those hard compounded tyres now as we get through this next stage of the race. Casper looking very, very racy on the back of Collie, despite the fact Casper has been on those tyres 2 laps older.
Yeah, and if you're Marco, you're hoping that Casper and Collie have a bit of a battle so you can get back within DRS range. That's what you're hoping, knowing that Axlock has a 10-second time penalty. You need these two to battle just so you can get yourself within that window. Because obviously, if they just DRS trade over the next couple of laps, Jess, they're going to be able to pull that 3-second gap to Marco, and Marco is going to have to think about the undercut and a different strategy option to try and get himself back within this fight.
Yeah, and we're seeing how with Axelot, how the undercut just works so well, because Axelot and Collie and Alex were trading positions, but the gap was like 2 seconds. And But bearing in mind, Axel will have to serve the 10-second, so he'll be way down the order. So it's really going to be down to how Collie, as this is just so tight between everyone out there on the grid right now. One small mistake, that could be it for any one of those drivers. Pelsey, because of Colin, without getting DRS, Pelsey is chasing Kieran quite rapidly with a rate of knots. He takes Ascari very well. With his teammate not being here, of course, this is great chance for Pelsey to score some points, not only for himself, but for the Kick Sauber team.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, crucially for Pelsey also is that he is penalty free, and let's hope that he does stay that way. Looks like Colin taking a nice little tighter line on the exit, but it's not going to matter because here comes Kieran with DRS, with the ERS. Job done before we were halfway down the street.
Yeah, nicely done there. Of course, he was on the fresher rubber and he was able to manage his tyres effectively. And there you go, Bob's your uncle. He's through now into P6. And with him having a penalty to his name, of course, with the car where I think both, without Casper's penalties, both Racing Bulls have made use of their penalties to perfection. Kieran Beyond could be on for a very good result as long as he doesn't pick up any more warnings. Speaking of warnings, Lukey's picked up one. This day has gone from bad to worse for Lukey. Same for Chris as well, unfortunately. I know there's a few Chris fans in the chat. He's going to come into the pit. I believe that is 2 stops done, though. Yes, it is. It's going to be hard for him to get those hards to the end of the race. So I think I pitted roughly about the same time, about a lap later, and I was struggling towards the end.
Yeah, I think I pitted. I think I pitted on this lap actually at the end of lap 16 for my final set of hards, and yeah, the pace was decent in them until we got to like the latter stages. But then I obviously bailed out and I went for a set of the softs towards the end, so didn't get to see the full extent of the tie weight at the end of the stint. But I'm just looking at this gap right now to Kieran and Marco, and it's coming down. Oh, I just go on board with Kieran. He has a rear lockup and almost loses the car coming for the first chicane.
I wonder if that's going to allow Colin to gain all that time. Probably not, because Colin's lost a bit of time too. So, Kieran, you can thank your lucky stars because that didn't cost you that much time.
Yeah, and one thing I was going to say, Jess, obviously with Kieran closing in on Marco,
he was.
This could actually be, yeah, he was. But with the pace that Kieran is showing, do you think Marco might potentially be thinking, do you know what? The only chance I've got a race win here is working with Kieran in the end. So maybe I don't go full out. Maybe I save a bit of battery. Let Kieran close up to me. DRS trade until we can get back in that mix with Casper and Cooley up ahead.
I think that's a smart move, potentially. It might be an odd occasion that you got to work together with the people that you're in a train with and not fight with too much. As we've got Alex is in on a set of the mediums. I really do hope, Mike, that he has not forgotten about the 2-stop. I really do hope he hasn't forgotten, because that's going to cost him so much time otherwise. So he comes in into the pit lane. He's going to come out just behind Kieran, but he's going to be on the fresher rubber, so he's going to try and climb his way up through the order there. Lukey comes in for his final stop. So is Marco. Of course, he's going to drop way down the order, but of course, he's one of the first drivers out of the leading bunch who has done a stop already to pit. So he's going to be the benchmark.
Yeah, and if I'm Axlock, Cooley and Casper right now, I am responding ASAP. Because you would have seen that Marco is coming to the pits, and you do not want him to have more than one lap of an undercut.
Definitely not, because the more laps that you stay out there on track, the more that this guy is going to catch up. I think we saw that in real life, didn't we? That if one driver left it a lap later, the driver that you were trying to overcut would have been, I think, 2 or 3 seconds up the road. And that would have costed your chances of a very good result anyway. So you've really got to respond to that right now. Here they go. But Collie, no, Casper stays out.
Yeah, Casper staying out. Axlock going to serve his 10-second. Collie into the pits now. And let's see what this does. Is that Colin? Yeah, that is Colin. Colin ghosted on the start finish straight, and I'm not sure what's happened there, but he's lost a huge amount of time. So I'm wondering if there's any pit lane confusion that's happened there with Colin and another driver.
Oh, maybe did he struggle a bit with his equipment? I don't know. He's lost a bit of his front wing. He lost the. Did you see? He lost the right hand side of his front wing, completely red. That he has to come in now. He has to. He's got to lose so much time as well. And don't forget, he needs to set the wing repair thing to yes, because I was jepping someone earlier. They had it set to auto, and it didn't repair their front wing. So he's got to make sure he does that. But he's going to lose so much time, especially through these sections. The lead Les mode, especially Anascari, is an absolute nightmare with a damaged front wing, and Collins just proved that. What a great race for him so far, but it's now going to go from great to bad to worse, unfortunately.
Yeah, and look at this now, Jess. Marco 1.3 off the back of Cooley, and on those medium tyres, if he can get a good run through Ascari, he might be within DRS for the start finish straight.
Marco's on course for getting another race victory here at One Hub Racing, and all that stands between him is Collie right in front of him, 1.4 seconds. Palsy doing his final stop. I won't be surprised if he goes onto a set of the mediums. J. Cole started on the hard, so he will have to come to the mediums a little bit later on. And there goes Colin going into the pits to change his front wing.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure for Colin to be ghosted in the middle of the straight. I think it had to be some confusion with the pit lane entry. Maybe someone coming into the pits and Colin was on the inside, and a little bit of confusion's happened there. But yeah,
I'll
Colin
ask him
now
after
all the way
this
at the back.
race. I'll ask him after this race and find out what happened, or maybe he was thinking about pitting and then he broke too late, and that was it. And J. Cole's got his first time penalty. So only 6 drivers or so has got no penalty so far, and one of them is pretty much hasn't stopped yet. Nick, of course, hasn't got any penalty so far. Here comes Collie on the back of Marco's teammate. Now, Curry did his best to try and hold up Collie. You are allowed to do that, of course. You're allowed to help your teammate. You're not allowed to help anybody else by slowing down, because otherwise that will cause a bit of trouble. But Collie's up to 6th place. He's got to try and make sure he can get pretty much get that 3-second gap over Marco to win this one now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Marco, the team order has come through, give Marco the DRS, and Marco has now got it.
Yeah, Marco's got the DRS, which helped him a little bit, and now Curry has come into the box. More pit stops. Your final stops for Kieran, Jaco, and Nick, as well as Curry. So they're coming in, majority of them off a set of the medium compounded tyres until the end of the race. We see some moves in the background. Furious does make his way past Jaco up to 8. Furious having a great race so far, but don't forget he's under investigation for what happened during qualifying earlier.
Yeah, and obviously that's going to be the point of contention for him. Axlock, after serving that 10-second time penalty, finds himself behind Pelzy now. The hards versus the mediums, and you gotta think, Jess. I mean, obviously the mediums right now should be quicker than the hards, but the hards are such a good race tire that the difference isn't massive.
It's hardly anything.
Yeah, you can still compete with the mediums even though you're straight out the box. And I just think towards the end of the race, the mediums are just going to be a good half a second a lap slower than the hards at the end of this race.
Yeah, I think with your final stint being on the hards, as I found out and you find out, is probably easier than if you're on the mediums. So if you're on the mediums, you're definitely going to struggle. But if you're on the hards, you can afford to push a little bit much, which is why I think Collie, he's already got that 3-second gap already, it looks like. So let's just see. Yes, he almost has. So I wonder if Marco's struggling a bit on those mediums already. So Collie has picked the perfect strategy. As long as he doesn't pick up any more penalties, he's only on 3. As long as he can keep that gap more than 3 seconds, which he is doing at the moment, he could be on for his first race win in One Hub in his first season, which I have to say will be absolutely amazing for him. After the last few races, he was struggling to get to grips with things, but it seems to me he likes to slow down full circuit, and it's a track that really suits him. His hard pace is absolutely immaculate. Imagine what Atslot would have been if he didn't get that 10-second.
Yeah, I think that 10 seconds really is definitely hindered Axlock here. Alex, so what could be, unless Alex comes into the pits in the next lap or two, what could have been for Alex in this race? Because the pace was there. But you got to pit twice, Alex. You need to pit twice.
If someone could tell him he's watching the stream that knows Alex, he's got to. He's got to come in, because if he doesn't, he'll get a DQ. I think he must have not read the rules properly. But again, like we were saying earlier, we did tell the drivers when they join the league, you must read the rules. SimGrid tells you that you have to do a 2-stop. We remind the drivers constantly that they have to do a 2-stop. To be fair, though, around this track, Mike, doing a 1-stop around here is just hard anyway. And a 2-stop, in my opinion, is faster regardless.
I mean, right now, obviously, I think to the contrary, and I think the 1-stop is the quicker round here versus the 2-stop.
But maybe Alex is good on his tyres.
Potentially, and we'll have to see. Obviously, that gap is closing between Cooley and Alex, as you would expect. I'm looking at this this gap right now where Kieran and Marco is still coming down, and Kieran on 3-lap fresher mediums. Is there a possibility that Kieran could snag the race win?
This could happen. I mean, if he gets within Marco's range and then gains about a second, they could win. Honestly, the racing balls of Casper almost had a short of victory last week. Kieran had a good result of 6th place, and he also had a good result in Canada. Kieran's on form. So if he could keep up this forward trajectory, this could be amazing. I have to say, I'm putting up my bets right now. I know I'm going to jinx myself, but as long as Kieran stays where he is, he's going to probably get my Driver of the Day nomination. Because don't forget, he had a penalty going into this. Yes, it was probably only gearbox, but he started near the back anyway, and he's climbed his way up to 4th place. Look at the positions gained. Hold on, I'm getting the wrong thing up. 8 places, which is amazing. Furious had a good race as well, but 8 places for the Racing Bull driver. That is impressive. Look at the amount of time he's gained over Marco now, 1.5 seconds. Marco needs to get a move on here.
Yeah, and this is what I was saying, Jess, that gap between Kieran and Marco is flying down. It's 1.4, and then there's just another 1.3 seconds for Marco to the time penalty of Cooley up ahead. And that is what's standing in the way of Kieran and a potential race win here at the Temple of Speed.
Yep, I mean, it is harder to overtake around Monza on F125 compared to previous games. So if Kieran wants to get a move on, he's got to get a move on now before his tyres start to die. Because we know those hards with Collie is going to last forever. I don't think we're going to get any more safety cars, because if we got a safety car, we would have got one now. The gap now 1.3 seconds. He's trying to burn a bit of battery. Marco's hardly got any battery, so at the moment it is advantage Kieran right now. Jacob's got Furious right behind him. That's putting a lot of pressure for the last few laps. Furious could have gone down the inside there, but doesn't try it at the moment. But I wonder if Furious is just going to be a little bit patient over the last few laps. Same with Chris on Nick and Lukey on Casper. Penalties could come into play, and that could really cost them. Penalty, though, is looking very feisty on the back of Atslot too. So watch this space between a lot of our drivers. As Curry's out of the race, could we see a safety car? Nope, he retired in the pit lane. So, yeah, that is it then in terms of safety car. I mean, we only had one BSC, I believe.
I mean, if I was Curry there, I wouldn't be pitting. I wouldn't be retiring. I would go
pit for fastest lap, yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest, I should have done that in hindsight, but I still got a point anyway, so I can't complain. But
can't relate.
Yeah, but I did that last week because the gap was too big behind and the gap was too big in front. So you had no, you wouldn't lose anything. And if you got the fastest lap, great. If you don't, well, at least you tried. Colin just picked up a time penalty as well. We've got three more laps to go of this race. Kieran has found a second in the last lap alone. He passes Marco his job now is to find 2 seconds in 3 laps. Oh, it's going to be hard, I think, Mike, but can he do it?
Yeah, that's going to be the big question. Of course, 5-lap-old mediums, they are still going to be a bit quicker than the hards, but as the laps go on, they're gonna equalize very quickly. I think it's only going to be marginal right now, but the mediums I think are slightly quicker. As we're seeing, the gap now just came down a little bit through the corners.
But it's came back. I think
Yeah.
I wonder if Collie was in the straight a little bit there as well. If I was him, if I was Collie, burn that battery, because that's standard difference between you getting that race victory here today. I think, Mike, that Alex has forgotten. So we're going to ignore Alex for the time being. He's out of the picture for the race victory. Marco! Marco speeds
Race
up
on.
race on then.
Axel and Pelzy.
Yeah, Axel's got no penalty, so Axel's on for a podium.
The same with Pelzy as well, right behind in the DRS range. So this battle now between Axel and Pelzy is just about turning into the battle for the final spot in the podium, Jess.
Yeah, and that means that Marco could, Axel could gain the points that he needs to potentially lead this championship. Oh my goodness, I love this. I really love this. This is shaping up to be quite a big race in the history books right now. Of course, Ben Mills being back next week, Axel would have wanted to score a lot more points than that. The gap's coming down 4.8 seconds. I don't think it's going to be enough for Kieran to get the race victory today, but P2 is something not to be sniffed at. It is amazing, as someone was asking penalties. There you go, wait, see, those are your penalties. Collie and Marco's got 3 seconds. Jacob's got 6. Casper's got 3. Lukey's got 9. Chris has got 6. And Colin has got... No, Chris has got 3, sorry, and Colin has got 6. Those are your only penalties right now. Furious is going to jump way up the order because he's hardly got any penalties. If I was Furious, I would have bite this because you're probably going to be ahead anyway.
Yeah, and looks like Pelzy's tyres unfortunately not hanging on enough for him, and
Yellow flag.
Able to get away. Yellow flag. That's who's gone slowly there.
That's Collie. That was Collie that lost a bit of ground.
Ladies and gentlemen, now the battle for the race wins on.
Yeah, the battle for the race win is on. So there we go. He lost a bit of in the final corner. And I can tell you that I'll get the stops up so you can see it for yourself. Alex has only done 1 stop. So ignore Alex. Alex has been disqualified from this race. He will not be finishing this race, unfortunately. So the battle for the race win is between Collie and Kieran. As long as he can keep under 3 seconds, it is Kieran to win. Collie has got to burn for his life here in order to get this one, but he's hardly got any battery. I wonder if the pressure has got to the Red Bull man. He wants to replicate what we saw Max Verstappen do in real life. Get the race victory after starting from pole position. But it doesn't look like he's going to do it. But anything could happen in Formula 1. Through Ascari for the final time. He has driven a stellar race. It was a shame he got that penalty. Alex crossed the line in P1. But again, he's going to get disqualified. So we will ignore that. Kieran's found, I think, a little bit of few tenths on Collie. So Collie goes through the parabolic canal. It was that corner where he lost the time earlier, which cost him the race victory. Collie crossed the line in P1, but it is Kieran. He may not know this yet, but Kieran is a one-half racing winner for season 27. Collie takes P2. Axelot gets the final spot on the podium, and I do believe Axelot is your new championship leader.
Wow, what an end to that race. Pressure building for Coley and unable to take the race win in the end. And Kieran in the sister car replicates what we've seen many RB drivers. Yeah, 2008 Sebastian Vettel, of course we remember that. But many Toro Rosso, AlphaTauri RBs in the past have taken victory share at the Temple of Speed. And Kieran's just joined that illustrious list.
That is amazing. Of course, I believe they will be leading the constructors after tonight. So that is a very good move there. Of course, I think I'm going to go first for Driver of the Days because I never do. Kieran's going to be my Driver of the Day nomination, hands down. I mean, he started low down the grid. We didn't think he was going to climb his way up, and bang, he did. So he was one of the first drivers I've seen in this season throughout the league to nail that penalty. I think it was Gearbox, I believe, for Kieran. And he did fantastic. Look at that. Driver of the Day in-game as well. Most overtakes and cleanest driver. I will carry on with my question in a minute. But so we got Kieran at wins from Collie, Atslot, Marco Pelzi, Furious, Casper, Jacob, Nick, Lukey, your top 10. Chris and Connor get the final point, and he also gets the fastest lap as well. And your DNFers are Curry in 14th and Alex, who's got disqualified. So I'm going to say my question for Kieran for the Sim Racing Setup Driver of the Day is, after taking your car wear penalty this evening, did you think that you were going to go from 12th to winning the race? And a massive congratulations goes to you. Mike, I'll hand it over to you. Who is your Sim Racing Setup Driver of the Day, and what would you like to ask him?
I think, obviously, I mean, there's one person I got to go for by year, and he clinched the podium in the end, Axlock, after getting that 10-second time penalty. A fantastic result for him. So my question for Axlock, did you think that you would be getting the podium after getting that 10-second time penalty and being so close towards the end in terms of the time at the end of the race to the race winner? That would be my question to Axlock.
Yes, to be honest, that's a good pick as well for Driver of the Day. So the drivers can vote for that tomorrow when the polls do open. Of course, they got to try and pick up quite a lot of Driver of the Days, but we'll have to wait and see. Of course, it's going to be quite a close matchup. But Kieran and Axel, your Driver of the Day nominations, I have to say, from P1, it was a good race. Not much drama compared to the other tiers, but sometimes you needed a calmer race just to, like, breathe a little bit, because, of course, our race didn't go well. But we were treated to some good race. Yes, people made mistakes, but it was generally some really respectful battles.
Yeah, absolutely respectful all up and down the grid. Obviously, no major instance from what we saw, other than potentially that one with Colin, because we have to find out what happened with that one. But the podium, absolutely massive congratulations to all three of them. Obviously, Kieran, Cooley, and of course Axel at the end. Honestly, I'm just excited now for the rest of the season, Jess.
Me too. I am really excited. Of course, we will have some of the faster guys back in next week, so we'll see where they are going to be. But next week, we're going to one of the quickest tracks on the calendar to one of the longest tracks on the calendar, Spa-Francorchamps. It's an absolute classic. Everyone loves Spa. I love racing around Spa. Quite a lot of people love racing around Spa. It's going to be a really amazing track, and I'm here for it. And it's going to be the first weekend as well where we don't have an F1 race on it. So at least they're going to have time on the Sunday to put a bit of practice in.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, practice does make perfect around Spa, especially with that very technical middle sector. Some people like to have a bit higher downforce in that middle sector just to gain the time there, because that's where your time is really won or lost. So it's going to be interesting to see what the drivers do into next week at Spa.
Yeah, and I wonder, will we see drivers taking their engine penalties going into next week, or will they save it for the next few rounds? Of course, they don't have many chances to do so, because as long as you take it by around 10, then you're fine. Otherwise, you're going to be in a spot of bother. But that is it then for all of our streams this evening for One Hub Racing. We'd like to thank you, everybody who's been watching the streams this evening. Of course, you can check out our sponsors. Thank you to Next Level Racing, Sim Racing Setouts, Pure Sim Gear, Vespertine and SimGrid. Without those, the league cannot run. Thank you to all the drivers that have raced tonight in all three tiers. You've all been amazing. Make sure you follow us on our socials at One Hub Racing on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok and YouTube and Twitch. And you can also join our Discord server to be kept up to date on all One Hub Racing action. Of course, thank you, Mike, for joining me in the commentary box once again. It was lovely to have you back, but we will see you next week for the Belgium Grand Prix. Will we see a different race winner again, or Will someone the same like either Ben, Kieran, or Marco get another race victory? We'll see. I've been Jess Ball. He's been Mike Edwards. See you next time. Bye-bye.